After 4 long, tense days, we've reached a historic moment in this election. We can now project the winner of the presidential race.
Hello and welcome. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the US election. We're only 19 days away from the election at this stage, and it really couldn't be closer. Now that might seem a surprising thing for me to say, because if you look at the national polling, which I'm going to put on the screen, Kamala Harris has had a very consistent poll lead over Donald Trump, and that's been the case since she became the Democratic nominee. In other words, since Joe Biden stood down and she took over as the Democratic candidate. But being the front runner in terms of the popular vote in the American system doesn't really matter, because in order to become president, you need to win 270 Electoral College votes. You need to win a majority of the Electoral College. In the rare event, in the very unlikely event that the Electoral College is tied or nobody has a majority, then it actually goes to the House of Representatives. And that has happened in US history, but it's unlikely to happen in this contest, even though it's very close. So the way the Electoral College works is that in order to win Electoral College votes, you need to win the most votes within a particular state. So it uses a first-past-the-post system like we use in the UK. If you win the most votes in that state, you win all of the Electoral College votes. So if we take a state like California, if you win California, you win 54 Electoral College votes. And the way that's calculated is that the total number of Electoral College votes is the total number of representatives that state sends to Congress, which is determined by the population of that state, plus 2 senators. So large states like California, well, they get a lot of representation in the Electoral College. They get 54 Electoral College votes, whereas smaller states like Alaska only get 3. So that's how the system works. And just like in Britain with constituencies, many of the states are really easy to predict. In other words, you've got states that always go Democrat and always go Republican. And so you can colour in most of the map pretty immediately. And I'm going to show you what the map is mostly going to look like on the screen just now. And so the election is going to come down to a few swing states. And in this election, it changes from election to election which states those are. Those are North Carolina, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, and Georgia. So it's those states that really matter. And the reason that this election is so difficult to call is that it is very close in those states. So if we have a look at the polling for that, you can see that in Georgia, Trump is slightly ahead. In Arizona, Trump is slightly ahead. And in North Carolina, Trump is very, very slightly ahead. Whereas in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Nevada, Harris has got a slight lead. But the margins are so fine in some of these states, some of them by less than 1 percentage points, that it falls within what is called the margin of error of these polls. The polls can be out by, let's say, 2 to 3 percentage points either way. So really what the polling is telling us is that these states are too close to call. It's really not possible to predict which way the polling is going to go, which way, in reality the voting is going to go rather in the election. And so it really isn't possible at this stage to determine the outcome. So what can we say? Well, the betting markets are saying that Trump has got a slight edge. And I guess the way of explaining this is that ever since Harris took over, there has been a bit of a narrowing in the state level polling. And so you could argue that Trump has momentum, even though Harris is ahead. If you took the polling averages as it is right now, then you would say, well, Harris is going to win. But even though she's ahead so marginally, and the polls are narrowing. So really it's not possible to make a prediction at this stage. And I'm not stupid enough to make one. So look, it's anybody's guess. At this stage, we just don't know. So I said I wasn't going to make a prediction, but that wouldn't make a very good video, was it? So if I was going to make a prediction, if someone twisted my arm around my back and said, you've got to pick one of them, I would say Trump. There's 2 reasons for that, I think. First of all, I think momentum in US elections matters. And secondly, I just get the sense that Harris hasn't really set out her platform enough. Now, this was kind of the case at the last election. There was a lot of negativity towards Trump, and there was a lot of telling people why not to vote for Trump. But there wasn't enough of a reason, and this is particularly a problem for Harris because she was part of the Biden administration. There's not enough reason that Harris is offering why people should actively vote for her. And I think that could be a problem for her. if this is an election that's really about getting your base to turn up, then I just worry that the lack of a positive reason to vote for Harris may well be a problem for her. But that is just a stab in the dark. It's 19 days to go. There'll be one more video from me on this election where I do make one final prediction. Until then, goodbye and best wishes, and I hope I'm wrong.